This is my background, so I just wanted everybody to understand what's the foundation of knowledge and experience that I'm using to present this material to you. In previous sessions, we've been doing these webinars. We've done over 130 of them now over the last 4 years, and the real focus is on performance excellence, organizational excellence, operational excellence. And I would say that the underlying theme has been the integration of people, strategy, process, and technology, and how industrial and systems engineering plays a role in the ongoing efforts to better integrate those four components in organizational systems. The reason that I got into measurement way back when I started my career at Eastman Kodak and then in graduate school at Ohio State was because I liked measurement, but I also felt it was so important to strategy execution. It's really the central nervous system and brain behind the integration of people's strategy, process, and technology. And as you all know, analytics and the analytics role is a rapidly growing and critical to success function in all organizations' pursuit of performance excellence, and it is becoming a major theme, a major component of many of the industrial and systems engineering departments around the country and the world. So in 101, the focus was on what I would say management systems engineering, in particular a framework that I borrowed from Harold Kerstedt at Virginia Tech when I joined the department there in the mid 80s, called the management systems model. And so I'll talk more about that and give you a little bit of an overview of that. So the one thing I'll say is that the approach that I'm taking to helping you understand operational analytics, whether it be a macro view of analytics or a micro view of how we create SQL servers and hypercubes and set Power BI on top of that, and then generate charts on top of that. So, we're going to zoom in and zoom out on this conversation, as I think you all suspect when it comes to something like analytics. But, the purpose of management systems engineering is to create, architect, engineer, implement, deploy, improve B systems. And I'm going to explain what I mean by B in just a second, that drive and enable process and performance improvement better and faster. And so my point in an article we wrote a number of months ago in the ISE magazine is that in the new roaring 20s, if you will, it's not whether you're getting better, it's how fast you're getting better. And so speed doesn't kill in this situation. Speed in fact saves. So when I talk about B, I've shared this model in previous webinars, but I'll go over it very quickly right now. It's just a simple model that says we spend our time doing three things in organizations. We administer or perform the role that we're in. In other words, we administer the business, we administer our job. And then we cater to crises. So we fight fires. We do things that are unexpected, oftentimes seemingly urgent, and then we do D. We do the dumb. We have a lot of non-value add, a lot of waste in most organizations. And then the B that I spoke about a minute ago is we build a business. In other words, we've got business process improvement, we've got operational excellence programs, we've got plan, do, study, adjust, and so forth. So tons of different banners under which improving what we do and how we do it is positioned in organizations. And so commonly in the current state, the B efforts, B work, B budget gets squeezed out by C and D. So the fighting the fires and the doing the dumb chews up a lot of time that takes away from our ability to spend time improving what we do and how we do it. There is oftentimes low maturity and capability and competence to do systematic B. So people are trained to do A, they're not necessarily trained to do B. And so that's why positioning industrial and systems engineering as an example in organizations is so important, because ISEs, in fact, are trained to do B. That's what our discipline is all about. Many organizations, the A is teetering on the brink, high variation in process capabilities. We'll talk a little bit about healthcare today. I mean, it's not, almost no organization you go into today, whether it's a grocery store or healthcare, an emergency room, whatever, that you don't see evidence of the fact that there's a lot of variation in process performance. And at times it almost looks like it's on the brink of disaster. And the B portfolio, in other words, the things that organizations are focused on is not rationalized, it's ad hoc, and hence impact is suboptimized. So the desired state, as a result of doing the things that I'm going to talk about today, and then we'll talk about in 301 and 401, it's going to change those 4 bullets. So you're going to go from the bullets on the left to the bullets on the right. And so that's really the sort of simplistic, high-level view of what this mini-series is all about. Now, the purpose of operational analytics is to do these things in this order: facilitate and enable the creation of solutions that catalyze and enable better decisions faster, and then drive actions, improvement, implementation faster, and then drive benefits realization faster. Those are the desired and positive outcomes we want from the focus of our B work, and then grow enterprise value, system, process, business value, grow enterprise value. And we'll talk about what I mean by enterprise value. So the management systems model that I reviewed with you back in the first webinar, and by the way, if you didn't participate in 101, you can still access it on the ISE website. So 101 will be there in the operational analytics folder, and then 201 is going to sit right on top of that. So they'll be juxtapositioned with one another in the files, the folder there. So the model is that we've got what's being managed at the bottom. So we've got essentially upstream systems. Think of it as a SIPOC. So suppliers, input, process, output, customers, and who's managing, who's leading, who's accountable for the performance of that unit, that system. And then on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side, is what are the people that are accountable for the performance of, quote, the unit we're focusing on. What are they using? How are they making decisions? How are they using data and facts to support improvement decisions, the decisions and actions? So we basically walked around this model starting in the lower center, the lower third of the slide, and we just went sort of clockwise around and talked about what's happening in management systems engineering, management systems analysis. So at the bottom of the slide, I said it could be the focus of our B efforts. We could be looking at the extended enterprise. We could be working on an organizational transformation. We have a number of members from UPS that have been in the Council on Industrial Systems Engineers, and they're industrial engineers, and they were promoted into a position where they were literally re-engineering certain major systems for UPS. So they had an extended enterprise view. It might be an organizational unit. So it might be a revenue generating business unit. It might be an enterprise shared service function. Could be an extended value stream. So it could be the supply chain, for example, extended to upstream, extended to include the suppliers, downstream, the stores, and the end customers. So the management systems model is robust in the sense that it can be used regardless of the unit of analysis. It can be a big system, it can be a little system. And so as we begin to approach management systems analysis, there's a number of fundamental questions that we have to ask ourselves. So fundamentally, it's how does it work? So we have to understand, as as B personnel, as people who are working on business process improvement, we have to understand first and foremost, how does this thing work? You know, what's its purpose? What's its function? What's its role? How does it work? Second, how is it performing? How has it historically performed? And then the follow-on question to how is it performing is, are the failure modes? Where is it underperforming? And so that's where value stream mapping, failure mode effect analysis, all those kinds of tools that help us diagnose value stream performance come into play. And then if we were following, for example, the DMAIC methodology, define, measure, analyze, improve, control, the sort of Lean Sigma roadmap, then so we would do measure, then we would do analyze. In the analyze stage, we're figuring out why is the process underperforming. And so then we would migrate from the analyze stage to the improve stage, and we would be identifying on the basis of the RPN scores on a failure modes, for example, just to use an example of a tool, the things with failure modes with the highest RPN scores would be the things we would gang tackle. We'd go after them, and then we would create countermeasures, and then we would evaluate and track the performance of the process in relationship to the failure mode improvement work that we were doing to confirm and validate that, in fact, the countermeasures were working. And ultimately, then we would be evaluating to see whether or not this portfolio of B projects was, in fact, creating improved enterprise value. So there's a roadmap for management systems engineering and operational analytics, very similar to the roadmap that we see for Lean Sigma or design for Lean Sigma. And I don't think that the roadmap for management systems engineering is not as transparent, it's not as visible, it's not as well understood as the roadmap for Lean Sigma is. And so that's one of the reasons that we're doing this mini-series. So again, when you're in the early stages, when you're trying to understand how does something work, there's tons of things that you can do, tons of tools that you can pull out of your toolkit, so to speak. We can do SIPOC, we can do IDEF, we can do end-to-end value stream mapping, we can do business process breakdown structure. We can observe and walk the process and do structured interviews. So, you know, there's 3 ways to get data: ask, observe, and system documentation. And whenever we're doing the improvement of a management system, the improvement of a process, you want to invoke all 3 of those ways of getting data. So you don't just want to rely on system documentation. You want to also add to that, augment system documentation. You want to augment that with observations and interviews. And so, like I said, there's lots of different units of analysis. This is something that we did from our business process management BPM 4.0 and 5.0 webinar. But this is a very, very big picture of the shared service support infrastructure for an organization. So really big system view. And then we can zoom in to AP, procure to pay. And so that's the concept of portfolio creation, is understanding how to map the business processes, whether it be micro or macro. So we do layered business process mapping. And then we essentially identify where are the pain points, where are the failure modes, and prioritize those. And then we can zoom in and we can go in and we can fix those pain points and systematically over time improve flow, reduce waste, reduce crises that we have to cater to in the processes.